world is clearly changing as science and tech finally grant us access to an area that has once been shady. So far, few nations are making giant strides in this field, with the US at the pinnacle of achievements. But China as a great force seems to be approaching fast, astounding with its recent miraculous space achievements. What is happening? Join us as we take you through China's top 10 recent space developments that will change everything. Number 1. Completion of the Tiangong space station. History shows that China is in an early stage when it comes to space exploration. China's space ventures only took root in the early 1950s when the country began developing its rocket and satellite technologies. In 1970, the launch of the first Chinese satellite, Dongfang 1, marked a pivotal moment. Although China was just a newcomer compared to the advanced projects pursued by NASA, its recent accomplishments have been nothing short of extraordinary. Among these feats stands the awe-inspiring Tiangong space station, a testament to China's meteoric rise in the celestial realm. History bears witness to China's modest beginnings in space exploration. It was during the early 1950s that China's journey into the cosmos took flight, as the nation embarked on developing rocket and satellite technologies. The Tiangong space station has become China's heavenly palace, as the name literally means. It is China's first modular space station completed on November 29, 2022, with the docking of the Mengtian module to the Tianhe core module. The station's construction took 1.5 years, and it is now the third permanently crewed space station in orbit, after the International Space Station, ISS, and MIR. It has also become the largest and most complex space station in orbit. The Tiangong space station is a T-shaped structure, with the Tianhe core module at the center and the Wentian and Mengtian experiment modules docked to either side. The station is about 220 feet or 67 meters long and 150 feet or 46 meters wide, with a mass of about 60 tons. It is now in a stable orbit at about 250 miles or 400 kilometers. It is expected to operate for at least 10 years. The Tiangong space station is designed to support a crew of up to 6 people and has various scientific and research facilities. The station is also expected to be used for commercial purposes, such as space tourism and telecommunications. Completing the Tiangong space station is a major milestone for China, putting it in a strong position to compete with the United States and Russia in the future of space exploration. The good news continues. Number 2. China's launched spree. China, which had only launched its first recoverable satellite in 1988, has been on a major space launch spree in recent years, launching over 200 rockets in the past decade. This is a significant increase from the number of launches in the previous decade, when China launched just over 100 rockets. As it turns out, building its space station was instrumental to the numerous launches. Just within 2022, China and its private space companies were responsible for 54 orbit missions, targeting more than 60 in 2023. At this rate, dethroning SpaceX as the busiest space launcher might be in view for this year. SpaceX launched 61 missions in 2022, with a plan of reaching about 100 this year. But this glory might soon be overtaken as China seems to be catching up. Number 3. An era of X-ray telescopic microsatellites. With China's recent growth comes bigger ambitions as well. One of these ambitions is China's plan to launch a fleet of over 100 microsatellites equipped with X-ray telescopes to monitor deep space occurrences. The Space-Based Multi-Telescope Array (SMTA) project is being led by the Chinese Academy of Sciences, CAS. It will be a constellation of small satellites that can observe the sky in X-rays. X-rays are a form of high-energy radiation emitted by some of the universe's most energetic and violent objects, such as black holes, neutron stars, and supernovae. The SMTA will be able to detect X-rays from these objects that would be too faint or short-lived to be seen by traditional X-ray telescopes. This will allow scientists to study these objects in unprecedented detail and learn more about their formation and evolution. This gigantic project is estimated to cost around $1 billion and is nothing like the traditional big telescopes. It is good to see that China is catching up and bringing some innovation. Number 4. Taking the lead. It is astonishing to see China taking the front seat in space-related areas. As Xinhua, China's state media, explains, over 300,000 people have worked on China's space projects, almost 18 times NASA's employees. Today, this effort seems to have paid off, as on July 12, 2023, China's private space company, Landspace, launched the UK-2 rocket powered by methane. This was the first time a methane-fueled rocket had reached orbit, putting China ahead of us companies like SpaceX, which are also in this race. The UK-2 rocket is a medium-lift rocket that can carry up to 6,000 kilograms to low Earth orbit. It is powered by 4 TQ-12 Methalox engines in the first stage and 1 TQ-12 vacuum-optimized engine in the second. This is all exciting because methane is a cleaner fuel than traditional rocket fuels like kerosene or liquid hydrogen, and it is also more abundant, making it a good choice for reusable rockets. It is less corrosive and easier to handle. Landspace's success with the UK-2 rocket is a major milestone in the development of methane-fueled rockets. Number 5. Landing of the Zhurong rover on Mars. In May 2021, China became the second country after the United States to land a rover on Mars. The Zhurong rover landed on Mars on May 14, 2021, at 10:40 a.m. EDT. It was the first successful landing of a Chinese spacecraft on Mars and the second rover to land on the planet after NASA's Curiosity rover in 2012. The Zhurong rover was launched on July 23, 2020, and entered Martian orbit on February 10, 2021. It then spent about 3 months maneuvering to its landing site in Utopia Planitia, a large plain in the northern hemisphere of Mars. Surprisingly, the landing was a complex and challenging maneuver, but it was executed flawlessly by the Chinese space team as the rover touched down on its landing platform with a soft landing and could deploy its solar panels and begin sending back data within minutes. Number 6. Launch of the Chang'e 5 and Chang'e 6 lunar sample return mission. China is developing something that will provide insights that no other country has ever done before. The Chang'e 5 lunar sample return mission, launched on November 24, 2020, at 2030 UTC from the Wenchang spacecraft launch site on Hainan Island, China, marked a momentous leap in lunar exploration. Its voyage culminated on December 16 as it gracefully re-entered Earth, carrying with it precious lunar samples. The spacecraft was carried by a Long March 5 heavy-lift launch vehicle. However, none of this is important until you discover that the Chang'e 5 mission was the first lunar sample return mission since the Soviet Union's Luna 24 mission in 1976. The mission was a major technological achievement for China, making China the third country to return samples from the moon after the United States and the Soviet Union. The Chang'e 5 spacecraft consisted of 4 modules: a service module, a lander, an ascent module, and an Earth return capsule. The service module provided propulsion, power, and communications for the spacecraft. The lander touched the moon on December 1, 2020, in the Oceanus Procellarum, Sea of Storms region. The ascent module lifted off the lunar surface and carried the samples back to the Earth return capsule. The Earth return capsule re-entered the Earth's atmosphere on December 16, 2020, and landed in the Inner Mongolia region of China. The Chang'e 5 mission was a major success. The spacecraft returned 1,731 grams, 61.1 ounces of lunar samples, currently being analyzed by scientists worldwide. Of course, this success has paved the way for future lunar exploration, as the Chang'e 6 lunar sample return mission is scheduled to be launched in 2024. This mission will collect samples from the lunar South Pole, providing valuable insights into the early history of the moon. Number 7. Launch of the Long March 5B rocket. Of course, this list is incomplete without mentioning the launching of the Long March 5B, China's largest and most powerful rocket, first launched in November 2016. The Long March 5B can launch heavy payloads into orbit and was launched on July 24, 2023, from the Wenchang Space Launch Center in Hainan, China. The rocket carried the Wentian space station module successfully inserted into orbit. The Long March 5B is a variant of China's largest rocket, the Long March 5. It consists of a core stage and 4 side boosters. Exceptionally, this rocket's first and largest stage also acts as the upper stage, inserting the payload into orbit. The Long March 5 B's first stage is large and heavy, weighing over 23 tons. This made it the heaviest rocket stage to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere uncontrolled. Number 8. Launch of the Shijian-21 satellite. Moving on, the launching of the Shijian-21 satellite also caught our attention. The Shijian-21 satellite is China's first quantum communications satellite, launched on October 24, 2021, by a Long March 3B rocket from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center in China. The satellite was designed to test and verify space debris mitigation technologies. Though a remarkable achievement, the launch was classified. China did not release any information about the satellite's mission before launch. However, after the launch, China's state media agency, Xinhua, described the satellite as an on-orbit service, assembly, and manufacturing, OSAM. In December 2021, Shijian-21 could dock with the defunct Beidou-2 G2 navigation satellite. Beidou-2 G2 was launched in 2011 but failed to reach its operational orbit. It was eventually placed in a graveyard orbit but was still considered a hazard to other satellites. To solve this problem, Shijian-21 used its robotic arms to grapple Beidou-2 G2 and towed it to a higher graveyard orbit. The ability of the Shijian-21 satellite is impressive to the space community, reducing the risk of collisions between satellites and other objects. Number 9. Launch of the Tianwen-1 Mars Orbiter, Lander, and Rover. The Tianwen-1 Mars Orbiter, Lander, and Rover were launched on July 23, 2020, from the Wenchang spacecraft launch site in China. It is China's first independent mission to Mars. The spacecraft was carried aloft by a Long March 5 heavy-lift launch vehicle. After a 7-month journey, it entered Mars orbit on February 10, 2021. The mission's scientific objectives included the investigation of Martian surface geology and internal structure, the search for indications of the current and past presence of water, and the characterization of the space environment and the atmosphere of Mars. The lander and rover, named Zhurong, separated from the orbiter on May 14, 2021, with the lander touching down on the surface of Mars at 10:40 a.m. Carrying 6 scientific instruments, including a radar that can penetrate the Martian surface to search for water ice, Zhurong is the first Chinese rover to land on Mars. The mission is a major milestone for China's space program. It's even more interesting because it is the first time that China has successfully landed a spacecraft on another planet. Tianwen-1 is also the first mission to orbit, land, and deploy a rover on Mars in a single mission expected to last for at least 1 Martian year, which is about 687 Earth days. Well, it is not surprising that all this is possible, with the mission costing an estimated $2.2 billion. Of course, this is nothing compared to the already sent-back wealth of data, including images, videos, and data about the Martian atmosphere and soil. Number 10. Launch of the Shenzhou 13 crewed mission. This is the second crewed mission to the Tianhe core module of the Tiangong space station, featuring the first Chinese woman to go on a spacewalk. The Shenzhou 13 crewed mission was launched on October 16, 2021, at 16:23 UTC from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in China's Gobi Desert. It was launched on a Long March 2F carrier rocket with the spacecraft carrying 3 astronauts, Zhai Zhegang, Wang Yaping, and Ye Guangfu. The launch was eventually successful, and the spacecraft docked with the Tianhe module about 6 hours later. These astronauts spent the next 6 months living and working on the space station while conducting various scientific experiments, including studies of plant growth in space, and they also performed 2 spacewalks. This points to the fact that China is a rapidly growing spacefaring nation making significant contributions to space exploration. It must be noted that while China is running very fast and could probably catch up somewhere in the future with the United States, it definitely won't be an easy win. Indeed, America's spending supply chains and its abilities still give it the edge over China. And while all that China seems to be doing is outstanding and attention-grabbing, they still have a long way to go catching up with the United States. But as Jing, a major general who has made 3 previous space flights, says, "We firmly believe that the spring of China's space science has arrived. Subscribe to Beyond Discovery and see you in the next episode.